to the Sedona Community Forum Online. I'm Linda Shook, Associate Dean of the Sedona Center and Director of OLLI, the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute here in Sedona and Verde Valley. This program is brought to you today by the Lifelong Learning Division of Yavapai College.
Hi, I'm Paul Friedman. I'm an OLLI volunteer facilitator, and we're co-hosting this spring term online sessions of the Sedona Community Forum. In these programs, we'll hear from and interact with local leaders whose work is especially affected by and helping our community respond to the current pandemic.
Our aim today is to provide a backstage or inside view of what our local leaders are doing during this time and the decisions they're making so that you can kind of walk in their shoes from day to day.
Our guest of honor for this program is Jennifer Wesselhoff, the President and CEO of the Sedona Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau. Hey, Jennifer, you must have been dismayed by the need to close down or constrict the services of so many Sedona enterprises. I'm sure the last month has been a very demanding period for you, for the business owners, for their employees and their customers. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for the opportunity to be here with OLLI. I always enjoy my time here with you, so thank you for considering our perspective and how we're managing through this whole thing. I know this is such a difficult time for really everybody in our community. For us, for me personally, these are very, very trying days. I mean, hearing so many diverse opinions and feelings of fear in the community is really heartbreaking at so many levels. And so every person in our community, in our country, in our state is impacted some way by this pandemic and these actions, and they're not easy times right now.
Yeah. Well, what's your days like? What sort of decisions and actions are you making, have you made since the beginning of the pandemic? And what sources of information do you seek out? Who do you work with? How do you operate as the President CEO of the Chamber?
Well, to be clear, we're not a government agency, so we don't make policy or have authority over businesses or any sort of policy. And what we've identified are three target markets or target audiences pretty quickly. That's our businesses and our stakeholders, our travelers as the destination management organization, and then also our residents. So we've been really busy over the last month compiling information and sharing information to each of those audiences. For our businesses, we spent a lot of time compiling information for them and sharing information. We conducted 2 SBA webinars on how to access SBA loans and the PPP funds, and that's changing so quickly. Really just trying so hard to provide them the resources that are available to them to get them help. For travelers, we closed our visitor center pretty quickly. Our volunteers are in a vulnerable group, and we wanted to make sure that we kept them safe. And we moved our operations to a virtual visitor center. So immediately setting up all of the components to operate a virtual visitor center, forwarding visitor phone lines, operating a live chat that's available on our website, answering emails, and basically just coordinating the services of moving to virtual services, because especially at the beginning, our visitors had a lot of questions about what's open, what's not open, what does the stay-at-home order mean for Sedona. We're still getting a lot of questions from visitors today. We've created a travel advisory on our webpage to give them advice about planning and what the plans are and what is available in Sedona and what isn't. And it was probably one of the hardest things that we had to do as an organization to encourage visitors to postpone their visits to Sedona at the beginning of the outbreak. While it was an easy decision on one hand, because we knew it was the right decision for the community and for the health of our people and our environment, it's still always really hard to do anything that you know is going to have a negative impact on so many other people. And the negative impacts that this stay-at-home order has had on our community is drastic. The third was our residents and communicating to them just what we are doing and what we aren't doing. There's a lot of sometimes misperceptions about what we're doing. So really making sure that those messages across all of those audiences are consistent and accurate. That's been taking up a lot of our time. So yeah, really we've been really coordinating with the governor's task force, our local leaders, our counties, our cities, other chambers of commerce, meeting weekly with the governor's office, meeting with the Arizona Office of Tourism and other destination marketing organizations across the state, trying to figure out what are our next steps to recovery, and really just trying to facilitate the enormous flow of very fast changing information in the world, that's happening in the world right now.
Mm-hmm. Is there generally consensus or consistency among the preferences and desired plans among the various chambers, or between yourself and the state powers that be? Or is there a variety of operational plans, images of how things ought to go?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it just depends on who you're talking to and at what level. Right now, I've been privileged to serve on the governor's task force for tourism recovery. So providing input about how that reopening is going to look and what our businesses need and what our community needs. I can't say that there's consensus yet because there isn't a plan yet, to be honest. I think people are just trying to figure it out as they go. We're working really hard right now to gather information from our business community about what steps they're willing to take and what steps have they already put in place in order to make sure that our community is safe, that their customers are safe, and that their employees are safe. One of the concerns that I have is even if the governor reopens the state on May 1st or shortly after that in a phased approach, we don't know that yet. My concern is that it doesn't matter if we're open if people don't feel safe to go into a restaurant, or if they don't feel safe to leave their homes. It doesn't matter if the business is open or not. So really kind of focusing on the safety aspect has been an important priority for us. In addition to providing resources, we want to make sure that our audiences are informed, our businesses, our residents, and our visitors. We've created a couple of different web pages to try to help businesses during this time. We were really quick to gather information for restaurants so that we know, the locals know who's providing takeout, who's providing delivery. And we're opening that to any business, whether you're a member of the chamber or not. Now is not the time to be thinking about who's a paid member or not. So we feel like we're doing a wonderful community service to really help the businesses that are out there. We created a couple of new pages for businesses who sell products online so that locals can still support our businesses, as well as a page for businesses who sell services online. So really just trying to do everything that we can to support our community at every level.
Great. I assume that you and your staff are working at home, and I believe that the Chamber has councils that are subgroups of members that are in a similar industry, lodging or spirituality or other segments of the business population. Are they holding meetings among themselves? Are the leaders of those subgroups convening their membership or communicating with their membership as well?
Yes and no. Some are more active than others. We've been communicating very often. Sometimes I worry too much. Are we over communicating? Is our message getting lost? But things are just changing so quickly. We want to make sure that the businesses have the most relevant information and the most up-to-date information, especially at the beginning when all of the SBA loans were just rolling out. And the changes that had happened pretty quickly in that process. But yes, there's a lot of communication happening with the business community. We have met several times with our lodging industry. We receive now weekly reports of occupancy numbers, so we have an idea of what hotels have closed, what safety standards some other hotels have put in place in order to keep their employees and visitors safe. And we've been working really closely. We meet weekly, sometimes daily, with the city and county officials, both Coconino and Yavapai County. Congressman O'Halloran and his office, they have been incredible throughout this process. The access that they have given us and the interest that they have in our community to make sure that that congressional or national funding, that federal funding, is getting in the hands of our businesses has been a top priority for Congressman O'Halloran's office. And it's been a wonderful opportunity to see him really working so hard and advocating for our communities. Unfortunately, it hasn't been so effective yet. Many of our businesses are not getting their hands on federal funding yet. We are excited about the new potential funding that might come. They're calling it phase 3.5 with another $300 million coming specifically for small businesses. And I will tell you that our small businesses need those funds. Many of them are just not going to be able to make it much longer without some sort of phased reopening or without some massive federal funding to help them get through this time. And that's what's really heartbreaking. You know, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground. There are people who are absolutely against any opening of the economy for fear of visitors or others bringing the virus to us. And then there are others that just say we need to have some sort of phasing for reopening. Otherwise, we won't be around, and many of our employees won't be around to be able to continue to live here or even thrive here. So, yeah, we've had a lot of communication at different levels, including Senator Sinema and Senator McSally. They've been very engaged in letting us know what's happening at the federal level. The U.S. Travel Association and the Arizona Office of Tourism are huge advocates for the industry and making sure that best practices are in place. Of course, Yavapai College, we're so lucky to have a great relationship with them, and the SBDC facilitating a lot of the SBA seminars that we've been doing. It's really maybe the silver lining of all of this is that we see how united we are as a community. especially at the community leader level. And I really hope that this is the time for that to trickle down, through our entire community.
Terrific. It's comforting to know that there's that collaboration and teamwork among the people who have some responsibility for dealing with this situation. So, do you have a crystal ball? Any thoughts about what's next, or what the next turning points might be, or do you pretty much take it day to day? Do you have any sense of any thoughts about the future?
I wish I had a crystal ball.
Yes, that'd be nice.
Wouldn't that be nice? Right now, we're working day to day. We're working in the short term, and we're working in the long term. So that's one of the reasons why it's kind of so frantic, is because we're trying to deal with what's happening today, anticipating what might happen tomorrow, and then trying to have some understanding of the long-standing potential impacts that this is going to have on our world and on travel in general. I'm optimistic for Sedona in the midterm and the long term. I think that we will recover more quickly than other destinations because we are rural for the most part, because of our nature, because of our open spaces, because of the proximity to our drive markets. And plus we have a really strong team that can help capitalize on that recovery. We formed a tourism economic recovery task force. So we will be meeting with them on Friday to run by them our first sort of short-term strategy on how to recover and how to do that in a safe way so that our community feels safe and that our employees feel safe, because that's going to be the critical point. So I can speculate that it may be a better Sedona in the long run. I can't say that all of our businesses are going to be able to make it into the long run if things don't change rather swiftly or quickly. I know that the governor and the Arizona Office of Tourism, they're looking at a long-term strategy, and I'm pleased to have a seat at that table to be able to provide input on what's happening at the state level. But gosh, we just don't know. One of our stakeholders shared some information with me that I thought was an interesting perspective, that maybe to not necessarily talk about getting back to normal, but talking about what the new normal is. And, maybe this is an opportunity for us to, really focus on and institutionalize some of our sustainability standards that we've been working so hard over the last 18 months to put into place, and just doing it in a way that allows businesses to recover, allows businesses to rebound, but does it in a way that it doesn't drive our community apart. Because I can tell you there's one thing that everyone will agree on, and people aren't going to agree on the right time to open. And that is happening all over the country. It's not something new, for Sedona. I think we've been, at least in Yavapai County, very successful at flattening the curve and at least slowing the number of cases into our medical system, which is what initially and what still continues to be the major concern. Coconino County has not had as much success there. And the real challenge with us is that we straddle both of those counties, and the virus doesn't know county lines or city lines. So I can tell you that whatever, my observation for the future is that the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, are probably going to be some of the hardest that we've ever faced as a community. Because whatever decision the governor makes, whatever decision the government makes, is going to be controversial. And some people are going to think it's too fast. Other people are going to think it's too slow. And it's going to be very, very difficult for us.
You have, in conclusion, you have any message to either the general Sedona community or to particular constituencies, maybe suggesting communicating with political leaders, or what would you like to be contacted about? What would you not like to hear from about? Any thoughts about your connection to the subsets of our community or to our community as a whole?
I welcome any comments or feedback about what people feel we're doing well, what we're not doing well, what we can do better. People can contact me at any time via email or my phone. That information I'm sure Linda will share as part of this opportunity. But I think my observation is that government is looking at realistic and prudent steps to resume the economy without placing the community in danger. And I think, I wouldn't call it advice, but it's my observation that what happens next is not a choice between saving lives and saving the economy. It seems like what I'm feeling now from the feedback from the community is that many people think that it's one or the other. And I feel like there's just such a middle area, a middle ground in there, that as a community, if we could come to some middle ground, we will be better off in the long run. And it's not a choice between a healthy community and a healthy economy, that we are one. I think that in terms of advice, being patient and being kind with each other really has to go a long way. I mean, we just don't understand. You can't understand what other people are going through in this. I think some people have a perception that, businesses are just greedy businesses and they don't care about anything else other than their bottom line. And that is the farthest thing from the truth. I mean, they're having to let go employees. Employees are struggling. Some of them are not eligible or getting access to unemployment, thinking about how are they going to manage homeschooling and putting food on the table, and thousands of people who are unemployed, and how that's impacting and trickling through our economy. And I think what hurts the most in seeing this in our community is some of the hate crimes that we've been seeing in our community is so shameful. Like, I didn't think that Sedona was the type of community to have activities where, a car that has California license plates is getting keyed at trailheads, and notes are being left on cars with out-of-state license plates that say "go home" using profanity. And that's just not the type of community that I thought I lived in. And that is what hurts, because people don't know if that person from California just moved here a month ago and hasn't changed their plates. They don't know that my neighbor, you know, that her daughter from California is living with her now to take care of her during the stay-at-home order. I mean, you just don't know what you don't know. And to treat people like that is really disheartening. And I'm hoping that through forums like this, it will help us remember that we're all interconnected and that we rely on each other. And Sedona isn't the Sedona that we are without the businesses, without the employees, without the events and the nonprofits and the leaders who are really making such hard decisions at this time. And that would be my only hope, you know, throughout all of this, is that we all treat each other a little bit more carefully and are more kind to each other, and realize that we truly are interconnected. And that's the type of community that I want to live in and be part of. And that's what we're trying to accomplish. And, you know, it may not be easy at times, and we may not agree on how to get there, but we will get there together. We'll have a better chance if we're together.
You bet. You bet. Well, there's so much more that we could talk about, but we've run out of time. That's a wonderful message to leave in people's minds. I think what you just said is so important and so essential for us to move forward. I want to thank our guest of honor today, Jennifer Wesselhoff, President and CEO of the Sedona Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for sharing with us your adventure and community leadership over the past month or so. We're very grateful for the frank and thoughtful glimpses you've given us into how the Chamber is responding to the challenges we face. And it's inspiring to know how flexibly and capably you and your staff are adapting your efforts to the demands of this period.
We will continue this series of the Sedona Community Forum online, where we interview and talk to community leaders about what they're doing during the pandemic. These programs can be accessed primarily through visiting the OLLI website or our Facebook or through our YouTube channel. And Jennifer mentioned if you would like to reach out specifically to her at the Sedona Chamber, you can just email her at jwesselhoff@sedonachamber.com. All of this information will be also available at the OLLI website on the YC page, and we'll share that with you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.